Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to the latest episode of the Hard Compound Live. If it's your first time tuning in, then welcome, and if you are returning, then welcome back. Lovely to have you on board. My name's Rich, and I run and operate the Hard Compound. We're a one-stop shop for all things motorsport, based here in the UK, and we can be found on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Just search for the Hard Compound on any of those, and come and join in the fun as we share a love of all things motorsport. As I say, we put out 3 articles a day generally, in the morning, in the early afternoon, and in the evening here in the UK or in Europe. And these take the form of race reviews, race previews, throwbacks, birthdays, breaking news, new liveries, or just any photos of cars and bikes that we like to share with you all. So do come along and join us. We also do live video interviews such as this one. And just like this one, these are broadcast on our YouTube, our Facebook, and our Twitter, automatically saved on all 3 platforms, in the live section on YouTube and in the video section on Facebook. And we're also going to be putting them onto a podcast provider, the audio only, so you can download them and listen to them. We've done well over 100 of these. I'm not going to name all of the guests, but we've had a wide variety of guests from across the motorsport spectrum. We've had the honour and the privilege of speaking with Mr. Mario Andretti, with Jackie Ickx, John Watson, Hans Stuck, Mr. Chip Ganassi, the boss of the Ford M Sport Rally team, Mr. Malcolm Wilson, recently. Just last week, we had 2 in 2 days. Jack Aitken joined us, as did Mr. Takuma Sato. We've also had a lot of the British touring car grid. We've had guys such as like Derek Warwick and Stefan Johansson, David Brabham, Danny Sullivan, Willie T. Ribbs, Ari Lyondike, Will Power, Alex Palou, and many, many, many others. So do go and check them out, but don't do it just yet, because we've got a great guest joining us right now this evening. He's a multi-series racer, multi-series race winner and champion. He's gone from single-seaters to the world of sports cars and prototypes. And he's a thoroughly lovely chap. So we're going to bring him in right now. Please join me in extending a very, very warm welcome to Mr. Gianmaria Bruni.
Hello, hi, good evening.
Evening, Gianmaria. How are you?
I'm very good. Ready for Sebring for next week.
Yes, looking forward to Sebring and the bumps and everything that it brings. We'll get on to that very shortly. But firstly, thank you very much for coming on and having a chat. Obviously, we've had to rearrange this once due to various things going on, but yeah, thank you for coming on board this evening. I'm very grateful to you for sparing your time.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be tonight together talking about motorsport.
Yeah, which is the best way to be, isn't it? It's the best thing to do in the world. And I can talk about it, but I also enjoy listening. So, but yes, guys, in the comments, if you have any comments or questions, do put them in. We'll see them in real time, if the technology is working, which it seems to be, and we'll work them in as best we can as we go. But given the career of our guest, we've got a lot to get through, and I'm very much looking forward to it. So I guess the best place to start is at the very start. You're from Rome originally, beautiful city. Where did the interest in motorsport come from?
Yeah, this is a funny question. So I start in go-kart when I was let's say first time I tried go-kart at 7 years old. Yeah, my grandfather took me at the Pista d'Oro, that it was a go-kart track next to the city center. Unfortunately, it's not there anymore. Now it disappeared. Unfortunately, it was a very important place for almost most of the drivers that they have been in Formula One. They are in Formula One. So I started when I was 7, and then for the first 2 years, 3 years, it was more like training, because I was not allowed to racing, because to be at the time to race you have to be 10 years old, but I was only 7, so I did a lot of practice driving, missing school days at school. So it was quite an interesting starting let's say when I started in go-kart a long time ago. And then from there I just went higher, and I moved to a single seater when I was 16, and then I did all the category through the single seater until F1. Then it was like a dream come true since I was a kid. I think all the kids now they are racing go-kart, they want to be in F1. Sorry. And then I moved to GT, so endurance racing, and still still loving, still enjoy, still passionate about racing, taking the car to the limit and try to improve every time you step in the racetrack.
That's fantastic. That's absolutely what we love to hear. And obviously, as you've touched on, you've done a lot of different kinds of motor racing, lots of different kinds of
Yeah.
series, which is kind of why I wanted to have you on and have a chat, because of that range as well. Just to go back to the karting, is it true that you lied about your age to go racing?
Yes, yes, it's true. It's true. Because, like I said, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to go racing because for sure driving is fantastic, testing a lot, but then you want to go racing. But I was not allowed to go racing because I was not at the age that you need to have for racing. So yeah, we canceled something, we put something different dates, and then I was racing go-kart, but then the things went, let's say, starting well, smooth, and then I basically, when they find out that I was too young for racing, they stopped me for 1 year. Yeah, so for basically, let's say 9 months I couldn't race because I was too young for the category.
Wow.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, normally you are, when you are too old, but they found out that I was too young, so
Yeah.
it was the opposite. But it was, yeah, it's true. It's true.
Yeah, that's great, because it sounds like I mentioned we had like Mario Andretti on here 2 or 3 years ago, and he was originally from what's now Croatia, but obviously then Italy, and he did the same thing. So
Oh, yeah, I didn't know.
it is okay to lie about your age if it gets you in. It's good.
It was funny.
Happy
It was a
days.
funny moment.
Yeah. And obviously, when you started competing, the bug had already bitten you by then, and you were competing, and I guess you were always, a competitive person. And when you had some success, it was just natural that you kept going up through the karting ranks. I guess there was never any thought, but and I guess you were already thinking, wouldn't it be lovely if I could do this and make some
No,
money?
no. Obviously, when I was a child, my let's say, of course, we are everyone has a hero when they were young, especially race drivers. So my hero was at the time Ayrton Senna, like most of the drivers. But also I was, I had when I was at the age about 12, 13, my let's say my reference for racing was also they are both Italian. It was Capello and Pirro. Both of them, they were Audi drivers, and
Yeah.
I start to know what was 24 hours of Le Mans. I think Pirro was just winning his first
Hmm.
24 hours of Le Mans, and then I start to think, it's, obviously it's not only F1. There is also different races. Okay, it's strange. They race 24 hours. It must be crazy people. They do this crazy. So it was a lots of things going on in the mind, and obviously the first things was, okay, I want to race in go-kart. I want to try to do well, and then let's see, let's move forward year by year, step by step, and see where I can go. That was my aim. This was my goal, let's say.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you mentioned Mr. Pirro. I had him on 2 years ago for a chat, and he's just
Okay.
the loveliest guy. And he is Mr. Motorsport, isn't he? He is just
Yeah, he's so
everything.
passionate, crazy. He knows everything.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
knows everything, and he remembers most of the things. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really, for what he did, him and Capello, Dindo
yeah.
Capello, both of them. It's like incredible, and I always try to learn for what they did, how they did, and they were like also my, let's say, my hero when I was young.
Yeah, which is great, and there were some great Italian drivers around at that time, and we're talking kind of late '80s and early '90s here, and some terrific races like Patrese, and even Alex Caffey and Tacquini, and there's
Yeah.
so many. And, but you've got these guys to look up to, and you've had some success in karting. You're moving up. How did you go about moving from karts into cars? Because obviously there's
Yeah.
always talk of money and sponsorship, and you need
Yeah.
someone to help you, and that's still the case now.
Yeah.
How did it come about for you?
That was quite nice. I mean, at the time was this category called Formula Campus. Then it was like a Formula Renault, but in Italian championship. It was in different championship. They were, I think, Formula Campus was in France, was actually I think in Asia, was also in Italy, and so it was like the new Formula Four. Like Formula Four now was a campus. Was the first category after go-kart. You could do at 16 years old. So I was 16, and I entered this let's say group of drivers that they were tried to get helped by this magazine called Autosprint, and it's still on, and Rombo at the time. So I won this Rombo things, and so because of this, Rombo just helped me. I had the old car with the Rombo stickers on, and it was two cars in the championship. One it was Autosprint, it was one driver selected by them, and this one was Rombo, selected by Rombo magazine. And I was racing with this sponsorship, of course, helped by my family, but also helped by this magazine. And then that was the first year, and then I won this championship, and because I won this championship, I could get the help from, let's say, the prize giving was the money to race in Formula Renault Eurocup, and
Which was obviously
it was the year
really
after.
growing then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, in Spa we were like 60 cars, 58 cars of formulas. It was crazy.
Wow.
And yeah, in Silverstone, there were so many cars, and it was incredible. So and then of course, at the time, you still need to have the money. You need to have like helping, but it was different than now. Let's say, it was a lot of helps. Like my case. But then after I won the Formula Renault Euro Cup, so Renault helped me for the future for the British Formula 3, where I came over 2 years to race in England.
Yeah, and must admit that was when I first heard of you, because you came over here to the UK, and
Yeah.
and I remember there was a program I was watching, and it had some Formula 3 highlights, and it said that you had that you were the Renault like Euro Cup champion with was it JD Motorsport, wasn't it? I think
JD Motorsport, yes, yeah.
Yeah, JD. And I had a quick look, actually, just had a quick look back at it, and I thought he had an advantage because there was 2 rounds in Italy, and there were circuits that you might have known better.
Vallelunga, yeah. But
Monza and Vallelunga.
that year was a crazy year because I was first race of the championship. It was in Silverstone, but I couldn't race because I was so ill. Then I was sick. I was ill, so I missed that race. So it was crazy. So I said, "Oh, first race already very bad." But then 2 weeks after, it was a second round. But I have to stay because I was so sick and so ill. I couldn't take the plane, so I stay almost 1 week in the bed in the hotel. It was funny. I mean, I was only 16, 17, and in England, and then I went to the second race and in Spain in the Jarama, and then basically where I started the championship. So it was an easy start of the, let's say, of my career in a single seater.
No, definitely not. My goodness. But despite, excuse me, let's just move with like 1999. I mean, I think it was that year that you had this sort of illness and you didn't run the full season, but I think you won 4 races and won the championship, and
Yeah.
you must have been delighted and thinking, I can do this, I can race. Did you expect to be so competitive in that first sort of main season in in single
In
seaters?
Formula Renault, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. I mean, as soon as I start in, as soon as I started driving the Formula cars, I felt, let's say easier. I felt, with the car, at the time it was H gearbox. You have to do the heel and toe to downshifting, and I started driving this, uh, very quickly and very easily, understanding fast without mistakes. So it was easy things to step in. It wasn't. I was not afraid of the high speed coming from go kart to single seater. So let's say it was an easy to step in the single seater and be competitive.
Yeah, it's great. And there's that, and with that, I guess that like mechanical driving style, it's
Yeah.
I've spoken to a few of the older guys on here, the older racers guys like John Watson and Brian Redmond, people like that, and they've said you can spot the guys who are naturally good at racing because they can do the heel and the toe and the proper gear shift
Yeah.
and everything. And if you
That's
take
true.
to it early, then
Yeah.
you're going to be in a good place. And that was
Yeah.
obviously the case for you, and you obviously won the championship and moved to British F3 with
Yeah.
Fortec, with Fortec, who are still going, still a really well respected team.
Yeah.
Um, I guess that just came on the back of the Formula Renault success, and you were in the shop window, so to speak.
Yeah, no, let's say, I mean, obviously, like all my entire career, I always try to choose the difficult or the more competitive things,
Yeah,
because in the same time, I could race in the German championship, or I could race in the after an Italian championship, just to stay in Italy, but I will not. If I was taking this decision to stay closer, I was not stepping in. I was not improving as a race driver. So my package will not improve for sure. When I when I talk with the at the time with the Renault bosses, I said, I want to go in England, and I said, yeah, but the or most of the Italian, they never been competitive in England because it's such a difficult championship, and I
sounds
said,
like a
yes.
challenge, doesn't it?
Yeah, I said, yeah, but it's where all the F1 teams are, and I want to be in one of these teams in the future, if I have the chance and if I continue to do well. So the biggest things to improve, or to learn for me, was the language, because obviously I didn't know the language at all. So the first few months it was really challenging, because I was just I think 18 at the time, and it was hard to learn, to go at the shop every day, try to learn all this technical stuff with the mechanics. And of course they were just give me hard time and funny time to funny jokes, and and in the same time I was trying to learn English. But sometimes we were going for testing, and it was as at the time, I think now the weather overall improves a bit in terms of days of raining. But in England was always was raining, and we were going there I remember it was a Snetterton. It was raining like crazy, and one of the mechanics, he said it's raining like cats and dogs, and I didn't understand that. I said,
What?
what do you mean? For me, I was just trying to learn English, and not an easy things, but it was for sure. I grew up. I grew up as a person, as a driver, my package, and you start to live together. You start to live alone. You go away from your family, and for sure, this was the first year was, let's say, quite hard, because I could choose everything's easy, but I took the different way, the harder.
Yeah,
But at the end it pay off, because
yeah,
I can say it pay off.
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think I mean, it's very easy to take the easy route, but nothing worth doing ever comes easy. So it's
Yeah,
and you said with all the difficulties in the first year with the language and
yeah,
it raining, obviously, which hasn't changed. Um, you still managed to take a couple of podium finishes. You got a podium
yeah,
at Donington Park and one at Silverstone, which was very, very cool. Behind Antonio Pizzonia and Takuma Sato, who I spoke to last week. Were you happy with finishing fifth overall that first year, given that it was such a big change for you?
yeah. I mean, it was good, but at the same time, it was also hard because Mike, my let's say my rivals, the previous year that I beat him was Pizzonia, and in that year he won the championship.
Yeah,
And he dominated the championship. He was super strong, but obviously now thinking, of course, when you're there, he said, okay, I tried to go in England, but he knew all the racetrack because he raced in the previous year. He was doing the European Formula 3, European Euro Cup, and he was doing also the British Formula Renault. So he knew all the tracks, he knew all the
yeah,
team because he raced in Manor team. And Manor at the time was one of the strong team because he won also the year before with the Heinz, and then with Pizzonia. So, but it was a hard year to accept that for sure. But in the
yeah,
same time, I learned, like I said, it was a learning year, difficult. It was quite challenging any in all the area from the language point of view, track
yeah.
point of view. Also, the mentality was completely different. The English engineer or mechanics are different than what I used to work the year before. And it was also my third year in a single seater.
Right. So it all came, and it all came together in that year, and fifth overall was very good. Just
Yeah,
before we get into the following year, um, I believe it was your first time you drove at Macau. Now, again, most people that I've spoken to love
yeah,
Macau.
yeah,
Um, just the most ridiculous circuit. I absolutely love it. And it unfortunately, I think you retired fairly on in the race, but just want to get your thoughts on Macau because
yeah.
obviously, as we know, it's the only circuit in the world that has a corner that it's illegal to overtake on.
Yeah.
Um, you're not
Yeah,
allowed.
Macau was quite hard to learn hard to go faster. In that year was two international races. Was not
Mm,
only Macau, was Macau and Korea. We did Macau and Korea, and it was the two, let's say at the time was three important races in Formula 3. It was Zandvoort, Macau, and Korea. Macau was for sure was crazy, different track for sure, special, but it was, let's say, hard and challenging to go faster. I like a lot Zandvoort at the time in that year, or I learned Zandvoort was good, and also Korea, the street circuit was really nice, and yeah, I mean it was a nice experience.
yeah, excellent, good stuff. So that brings us into 2001, still in Formula 3. A similar year to the year before. Lots of good top 7, top 8 finishes and podiums. I got here. You took podiums at Silverstone, Snetterton, Donington, Alton Park, and Thruxton. Um, and you got your first win at Donington,
Yeah,
holding. And I remember this one. You were holding off Andre Lotterer, who obviously you're still competing against. That must have felt great, to have come over to the UK, learned the language, settled in, to a degree, and got your first win. That must have
yeah.
felt superb.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, that race was really good. It was a crazy race because, I mean, I think I start fifth or sixth, and then I start to pass driver. I was second behind Takuma, and then Takuma, I think he had some issue going to the last corner. He ran wide, and I was able to pass and then win the race. Yeah, it was good. It was good to go back in the top step of the podium and winning, and it was quite nice day for me for Fortec also, and I think we were in the first year with the Renault engine in that year, so it was good also for Renault to get back in the top level and winning the race against all the, at the time it was a Honda Mugen engine.
Yeah, excellent, great stuff. And obviously you got to do that for them, which is wonderful. Just the last bit on racing in Britain. Obviously, we're here in Britain. I'm sitting here in the UK in the south, and as I said off air, got Thruxton's about 40 miles that way, and Silverstone's that way, and Brands Hatch is there. You raced on, plenty of circuits over here.
Yeah.
Were there any that you really enjoyed racing on? Even like regardless of a result, were there any that were fun?
Yeah, I would say 3 tracks for sure. Really, really nice. It's first of all Alton Park, the big one, and then Thruxton and Donington.
Good circuit.
That were proper circuit.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. They are proper circuits, aren't they? Absolutely, fully agree. Just before we get to F1, you had a couple of races in like sports cars and like prototypes and like European Formula 3000. Excuse me. One thing I did see in my research that I didn't know before was that you won the 6 hours of Vallelunga in 2002.
Yeah, with the LMP1. Yep.
Yeah, that must have been a special one because it's your home track, isn't it? That must have been great, winning an endurance race.
Yeah, it was good. It was the first endurance races, of my, let's say, my long career till now, and it was the first with the prototype, and it was quite something good because it came up quite quickly. At the time was Durango team managing this prototype, and they called me. I think it was 2 weeks ago, the week before, and said, "We do this race. You want to join us and do the race?" And then so yeah, why not? And then I start driving. I like it. It was good. The car was really nice to drive, and it was similar to in a way of driving was similar to the F3000 what I was driving. So it was quite good. It was good. It was nice.
Yeah, cool. I mean, and also just to go back, you said that you had been looking at at the 24 Hours of Le Mans and sports cars, things like this. This is your first. I guess your first big race in that kind of a car.
Yeah.
Were you were obviously still aiming for Formula One, but were you also thinking there's another way here as well? Just were you looking at both?
Yeah, at the time, I was looking both of them for sure, but at the time was still focusing at F1 for sure. I cannot lie to you. For sure, it was F1. And I said, okay, yeah, it's not bad driving this prototype in endurance races. I like it. It's something that I like it. So I was with the mind, of course, in F1, but also thinking about let's say the second option. Then it was not a second option. It was a second different way.
Yeah. Okay. Excellent. That's cool. And and as you said, you were racing in F3000. We're in sort of 2002, 2003. You took third overall in European F3000, 2003. And that really was the place to be noticed, wasn't it, for Formula One and everywhere else. So having taken third in F3000, were you now thinking this is perhaps the time that I need to try and get into F1 somehow, because you had the momentum, you'd got up through the single seat ranks, and you're thinking, right, does F1 have to be the goal now?
I mean that year I think I missed 2 or 3 races, the last 3 races, because I started to do the Friday testing with F1. So until I was fighting for the championship, I was fighting for the championship until the last 3 races to go. But then there were 2 clashes. One was Suzuka, another I think was Spa with F1s. So this group of people that they start to invest, they want that I do this Friday testing, Friday morning session. So let's say I missed the opportunity to maybe fighting until the last race for this championship, F3000. but like I said before, at the end it paid off again, because the year after I was driving in a full season with Minardi.
Yeah, absolutely. And when the opportunity comes up, you kind of have to take it, don't you? Even if it's at the expense of a championship. And you touched on the group of investors. Now, I don't know much about this. I know a bit about it. I just heard there was a group of investors that were tasked with finding the next kind of Italian star to get into F1 and to move on and everything. And was that how the Minardi test and the eventual full-time drive came about, or had you spoken with Paul Stoddart beforehand? Or I'm just wondering how it all came together.
Yeah, basically was like you said, was these people, they were investing, they want to try to find a um, let's say a new Italian driver for F1. But unfortunately, it was difficult, it was hard with Minardi. It was hard because the car was not competitive, and unfortunately, team was really good. I mean, because some people, they are still around in Red Bull and in Ferraris, and my engineer, he was Vettel engineer and Sainz now engineer in Ferrari. So, and he just started with me at Minardi. So I think people, they were very strong, very good, but of course they were missing it's all about F1. It's money. So that was a shame for the name of Minardi team.
Yeah, fully agree. And certainly for fans of a certain age, i.e., mine, early 40s and slightly older and slightly younger and things like that, we all love Minardi because they were always there, and they become like a cult team. Everyone loves them. They had beautiful looking race cars, and Pierluigi Martini was just always there, Mr. Minardi, and I loved them. I fell in love with all the those backmarker teams like Osella and Zach Speed and all the others. But you got into the PSO3 car. The first time you got into an F1 car and you drove it,
Yeah.
what were you thinking? Was it everything that you had expected it to be, or I mean, was it terrifying? Was it? Because I've never done it and I never will.
Yeah, at the time I took my super license. So first test, it was a super license test at Fiorano. So first test for me was Fiorano, and there is where I took the super license. This, you have to do this 300 kilometers to be quite constant in the lap time. So at the time, that was the rules, and yeah, it was quite impressed. Quite impressed at the time. Was there were no slick tires, but there were groove tires. But the performance was quite good, especially the braking acceleration was really strong compared to F3000, let's say. And then it was completely different because in F3000 we still had a sequential gearbox. You have to heel and toe braking, and you have to lifting to accept the gears up and shifting down. And then in F1 was sequential on the path shift, and you have all this control and traction control and engine braking and all these kind of tools that in F3000 I didn't have it. So it was nice. I mean, but I felt good. I mean, again, first time driving was quite good. I mean, I was happy, and I was happy on the car, and let's say without mistake, and it was nice.
Yeah, great stuff. I'm going to get on to 2004 in just a moment, but I've spoken to, as I mentioned, we had Jack Aitken came on last week, and Callum Ilott came on a few weeks ago. Both have been in the test driver role. And they said that while they loved being around the team and having the opportunity to drive F1 cars, Jack, when he was made reserve driver, hated it. He said the first weekend was great because he was around the Grand Prix and he was involved. But apart from that, it was a lot of waiting around and not much driving, on track in anger.
Yeah, for me, I think was different because I mean, on the Friday I used to have 1 hour and a half session only for me.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was Friday morning was a 1.5 one. Some teams were, so it was, I think, was Renault. Renault used to had McNish, and then there was some other teams that they used to let drive the test driver, and so it was really really good because I mean, at least I was doing 1.5 hour session, and I
Brilliant.
was, try to step up as a driver, improving and just preparing them weekend for the official driver, and especially with the compound, always soft, medium, or hard, or whatever. So you already have a kind of a taste of the tires compound and what the drivers they will check later on in the other session. So it was quite
Oh,
good. I mean, it was more driving for sure for the reserve and third driver. Now
yeah.
it's nothing difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a sign of the times, I suppose. So 2004, when did you find out that Jos Verstappen was moving on and like Nicolas Chiesa wasn't going to stay in the team? When did you find that out? And did you think, right, I've got to try and
Yeah.
really
No.
go for this?
Yeah. I already here because I did the last race. I think was Suzuka as a third driver, and then was, I think, Stoddard said will be a shootout with the young drivers in Vallelunga,
Okay.
and they said you will be involved. It was me, Lopez, Kovalainen, and they said yeah, the quickest of these drivers will get the seat. And then it was late December. We were in Vallelunga, and there were all these drivers. I drove, I think, day 3 or day 2, I can't remember, and the other drivers drove before and after me. And then Bongarden was selected as a driver, Zolt Bongarden, and then there was one seat left. So we did this test. The test was positive. It was quick, fast, and then I took the seat.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
cool.
Always Vallelunga around, so it's always Vallelunga.
Exactly. Yeah. It
lucky,
helps.
lucky track.
You mentioned Heikki Kovalainen there. I just want to send best wishes to him. I heard
Yeah,
today he's had some fairly major surgery, open heart surgery on a issue that he's had. So we wish him well.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
I also we used to live with Ike. I used to live the first year in England. He was my roommate. We were used to share
wow.
the house of Fortec because he was in Formula Renault, Ike, and I was in F3, and we were living together in the house. So it was quite good. It was nice
Oh,
year together. I was cooking for him, so it was
oh,
nice.
nice, nice. I think that's probably for the best. I mean, I've got some friends from Finland, and if I had to choose between Finnish food and Italian food, I'd
Yeah.
definitely choose Italian. Definitely, definitely. Um, so, obviously, going into F1 2004, you've got the seat.
Yeah.
This is like dream come true time. And obviously, you knew as well as everyone else the car wasn't going to be competitive. It wasn't going to be looking for podiums and wins and things like that. I guess you would just wanted to go out and just do the best you could, report back to the team the best you could, and just make the most of the opportunity that you had. I guess that must have been the mindset going into the season.
Yes and no. I was because at the time I think the team could go with different chassis because thought that just bought some arrows because arrows, you remember, the team closed, so he bought these cars. He went test these cars. These cars were super fast, and almost, very fast compared, because if you remember that year the arrows few times was in the front row when the arrows was racing, was 2002. And then I was thinking that it could go with this chassis, with this arrows package also for F1 the year after, but at the end it didn't go. He stayed with Minardi chassis, and also with the old engine Cosworth. and that was a shame because the Arabs car was really fast, but obviously was more expensive to run these cars. They were more, let's say they were more expensive in a way of spare parts and everything. I remember it was one of the first carbon gearbox was running on this car, so it was really expensive cars. So at the end, he decided to make with this car the two seaters, F1 two seaters, unfortunately, and he continued with Minardi. So they issued, I start the season and say, okay, maybe we run with the Arabs car, but then at the end he didn't, and it was a bit frustrating because the car was difficult to drive, and also was we didn't have the good package to race with that car.
Yeah, sure. Just didn't. Yeah, it didn't quite all come together as planned. I've got, obviously it wasn't the best start in Australia, frustrating start in Australia, I guess. It didn't start as well as you would have liked, but it kind of improved. There was like, I see you had like 14th in Malaysia and 14th at the Nürburgring and the Hungaroring, which is, which was good. It was a good effort given given the car that you had. When you're on the grid for your first Grand Prix, your first start, or when you're racing,
Yeah.
how does that feel? I mean, was there any
It was
nerves,
good.
or
It
were
was
you just thinking, right, I've got a job to do here?
Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, it was really good. If I go back and I'm thinking, first start of the my F1 was amazing. I mean, I start obviously just before last or one before last, but corner three I passed five cars. I remember Panis, Ralf Schumacher, and some other drivers. So it was just quite good fun. Maybe too aggressive, let's say, the first start, but it was quite good start and good drivers. Even with they were different level of cars compared to what I was driving. But obviously, then it was frustrating because I was over driving the car too much. Tried to get back this speed with my speed, but you learn only after that you need the car to do something, and you cannot do everything with the speed of you, or try to take more risk. But this is why we call experience after.
Yeah,
And yeah,
absolutely.
so basically was not easy here. Obviously it was really nice. Like I said, first start was amazing. First part of the season was quite good because everything was new, but then you realize you don't have a chance. You don't have any kind of um, possibility to do something.
Yeah,
Uh,
sure.
and then it was difficult. Let's say from mid-season on was really difficult to carry on and go back in racing and try to go as fast as you can, because you realize you don't have a chance to do anything.
Yeah, and then that must be a problem, more mentally than anything else. Thinking, oh,
Yeah,
you kind of reached the limit of where you can get to, which is
yeah, because I mean, for me, I didn't have at the time any, like if I go back, three years before me, it was Alonso, and he was also last with Minardi. But
yeah,
because he had Telefonica behind, it was easy for him. You don't. He doesn't need to think about it.
yeah,
What it would be the future. So for me, it was only taking that or not nothing. So it was quite difficult to accept, but it was a part of my career, my racing, and obviously, if I knew how was the season going, was maybe I could take a different solution or different way, but you only knows when you are into or when the season is past.
yeah. Exactly. You can only do what you feel is right at the time. Just a couple of things I want to touch on in that season. Two unfortunate incidents. One at Spa, Belgium, was obviously very difficult in the wet. Well, it's always wet, isn't it? Um, you were collected by your teammate Zolt Baumgartner and Weber and Sato had a collision and stuff, and you were trying to get out of the way and you got hit. That must be so frustrating when that happens. When
Yeah, yeah,
when
because
when anyone hits you, but
yeah,
teammate. Ugh.
yeah, because the start was quite good. I mean, let's say the qualifying was quite good. I was in the wet. The car was quite good, and we qualified quite well. We were in front of some cars, and so it was quite good qualifying. But then in the race, it was this issue with Sato and Weber just in front of me, and we hit each other. And Baumgartner there, it was behind me, and he hit me. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, it's kind of racing accident. Nothing you can do.
Yeah, this happens. Another thing I don't really want to dwell on too much. I mean, it was probably okay, but it looked horrendous. Was it Monza? The fire. It was only a kind of a flash kind of fire, but obviously it was a refueling, wasn't it? And some of the fuel hit the hot engine cover or something.
Yeah, this the side exhaust. Yeah,
Okay, so yeah. And obviously it went up pretty quickly.
yeah.
Do you remember what went through your mind at that time? Because out of control fire is one of my phobias. I've always had a thing about it, and obviously you've got your helmet and the fireproof suit and
Yeah.
everything. But what goes through your mind when it goes orange?
No, I mean the problem was not so much. I could smell the fuel because the problem was that the guy was doing the guy was doing the fuel. Oh, my dogs. So when the guy was doing the refueling at the time, they had an issue with the valves. So I can't remember how many liters went through the side exhaust that the engine was on, so it was quite a lot. So and then the second problem was, so first was the smell of the fuel. The second was the guy that he did a good job because he did what he used to do it, what he asked to do it. He came with a fire extinguisher and he just put everything's on and on the race suits. But because the first guy with the fire extinguisher from the team, you have this guy that is, let's say, the helper, and he's next to the refueling guy. He left. He saw so much fuel, and he left. So he ran away. There is a picture. There is a picture somewhere that this guy with the fire extinguisher, he left, and then it was this guy from Monza track. Then I saw him after years. I saw him again that he was working Fiorano track when I was working for Ferrari, and that he came from the Jordan box that he was just before me, and he just ran into me, and he just put all the extinguisher on my suit, overall, helmet, everything. So in that moment, I couldn't breathe anymore. So this is why I have to jump out of the car, but not because the fire, because I couldn't breathe anymore. Everything came inside the helmet, and yeah, all this white stuff, and so this is why I have to come out from the car, but not about the fire. So the first guy had the extinguisher in the hand. He ran away. It was from the team. So from there on, we always give a hard time to this guy. And
I was going to say, did you speak to him afterwards?
yeah, we are a good friend, and he's still involved in motorsports in F1. So he's a funny guy. But then this guy from the fireman, this fireman from Monza, a racetrack, came across and he put the extinguisher all in on the overall.
Wow. That's amazing. So someone's just put a comment. What? I think that is in reaction to the guy running away. Bless him.
Crazy.
20 years later, he's still being fun.
Yeah, because there is a picture. I think it was this guy, this mechanics. He sent me a picture. I think last year. I said, "Do you remember how I run fast?" I said, "For sure, I remember."
Yeah. No. Well, obviously, it all ended up okay in the end. Yeah, it could have been a lot worse because I think was it Jos Verstappen had one Was it before?
Yeah, I think in '94. I think it was a long time. Yeah, 10 years before.
94.
I think
Yeah,
Hockenheim. Yeah.
that's it. And happily, it doesn't happen much anymore, which is good.
No.
So obviously, you got to the end of the season. So you finished the races in Japan and Brazil. But I guess at that point, were you starting to think? Well, were you wanting to stay in F1? Was there any opportunity to do so, or were you starting to maybe look out?
Yeah, there were again an opportunity to stay again with the same team, but I didn't want to. I want to go back and racing. Have a let's have a fight for something. Just you're leaving home, and if you're doing everything right, maybe you have a chance to win. But in that year, in F1 was so difficult because you know that when you were leaving home and you were going somewhere to race, you were just part of, but you would just follow the others, nothing else. Okay, I could beat my teammate, but it was not my, I want to do better, but I couldn't. So I was frustrating, and I prefer to step down and try to do good racing, let's say.
Yeah, that's the racer in you, isn't it? You want to be competitive, and that was obviously the case. And you moved to down to
GP2, yeah, Formula 2.
GP2,
Yeah.
excuse me. And just it was like a strong couple of years. There was there was a couple of fourth places at Imola, and there's a win in Barcelona, which is
Yep, it was race one winning. Yep.
Yeah, there's Circuit
Hello.
F1 isn't going to visit soon, but yeah, it was nice to take a win there.
Yeah, it was a nice win for the team in Barcelona. It was really good, and I qualified second. I think in pole was this young driver, America Scott Speed. And, yeah, and it was good win. I mean, it was really good race one win, and then also another that year another good race was Monaco.
Second, wasn't it?
Yeah, second. Yeah, but the problem was I qualified second behind Eki Kovalainen. Then he led most of the race, and I was second. Then he had an issue. He stopped, and I continued to. I led all the race. The team decided to do the pit stop at the time. It was a pit stop mandatory, also like now, for race one. So when I came in the pit, the wheel nut was stuck. So when I joined again the track, I was second, and it was one lap to go, and I finished behind. I think it was Adam. It was an English driver. He won the race. Carroll was Adam Carroll.
Oh,
Adam.
okay. Yeah. Adam Carroll. I remember the name. Yeah, it's close to a win in Monaco, but. Just very quickly, I'm very pro Monaco. I think the F1 cars are the problem. They're too big. I think Monaco should stay, and I will fight. I will take that to my grave. I love Monaco.
It's a nice track to drive it.
Every driver loves it.
Yeah, it's a nice track. Yeah, it's a nice track to drive.
Yeah, fantastic. There was just skip forward 2006. I joined Trident Racing. Obviously, they're still going, still well respected.
Yeah, it was the first year of racing for Trident.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's good.
First year ever.
Wow. And I guess you would have given. Well, that must have been their first ever win when you won at Imola. Again, another home victory on a classic circuit.
Yeah, it was a nice track that year. That year we won 2 races. We won Imola and Hockenheim. It was really nice. It's nice. I mean, the team was so new. It was just coming up all together, putting all the engineers. So it was a good challenge, hard, obviously, because we were fighting against a very good team, and especially with more experience in racing, because Trident didn't make any race before that, 2006. So, but it was good year. I mean, we did good races, won some races, some pole position. So it was a good year against very high level rivals, and it was good. I mean, I think was a good season.
Yeah. And you talk about the standard of the opponents that you had. I mean, when you won at Hockenheim, there was There's a young English chap, Lewis something, who came second with Timo Glock third, wasn't it? It was Timo and
Yeah.
obviously those two got involved in 2008, as we know. It's a nice thing to have, isn't it? A picture of you on the top step of the podium with Lewis just down there looking up at you.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was of course you could see that the Hamilton was obviously a very good driver, talent, supported by McLaren, helping him a lot to grow up, and but obviously you could see his speed, and it was not and not was easy to see that he was winning after in F1 also, not only in
Yeah.
GP2. So it was one of the stronger driver in a small category. So he continued to show up and to winning in F1.
Yeah. And you beat him, so there you go. But I guess at that time after GP2, F1 obviously, I guess, wasn't possible. Time for a new challenge. You went in down the GT sports car prototype kind of route in the European Le Mans series with Virgo Motorsport and Ferrari. Firstly, how did it come about? And also, that first race at Silverstone went quite well.
Yeah, I mean, I was. It was end of 2006, and I get a call from. I used to go training with Formula Medicine, so Ceccarelli, doctor, that is now involved in almost everywhere in motorsport, and not only in motorsports. And then I get a call from him, and he said, there is a team boss called Amato Ferrari that he owns AF Corse, and he's looking for a driver for next year. And I said, yeah, but GT, I don't want to go GT, it's for old people, and and I said, no, but think about it. Okay. And then I called this Amato Ferrari, and then I went to see one race in Italy of FIA GT. It was a 3 hours race in Adria, and I like it. I like the spirit. I like the racing. I said, they are not so old and they are fighting. It's good. And then I said to Amato, I said, if the test is still on and there is this possibility, I would like to do it. And he said, yeah, we can do the test in 2 weeks. Come and do the test and see what he can do with the GT car. And then I went to the test. The test was really good, went well. And then I start my journey in 2007 with Ferrari in GT. And then during the season FIA GT, I did also some races with Virgo Motorsport in ELMS. Thanks at the time to Ferrari that they put me in this team to do some races. And and basically this is how I start endurance with AF Corse, and then with Virgo. Then now it's let's say JMW, the Virgo Motorsport. And this where in 2007 I start my journey in endurance racing.
Yeah, and it began that year with the win in the 1,000 kilometers at Silverstone with Robert Bell. That was a nice way to start, wasn't it? With a win. Start as you mean to go on, and all that.
It was good. It was a nice race.
And
nice memories.
Sorry. Yeah. No, good stuff. I mean, it kind of set in motion a quite a successful sort of 3 or 4 year period that you had. I've got here that you had 18 races over 3 or 4 years there, and you won 9 of them and came second in 5 of them, which is pretty impressive. It must have been great to do that, to win classes and come runner up. And it all came to be, was it 2011 when you won the title alongside Giancarlo Fisichella, and you won the championship. I mean, that must have been a great period, and obviously winning that championship as well.
I mean, I won the first championship in 2008 with Tony Villander in FIA GT. And then in the same year, I was able to drive the 24 hours Le Mans with Mika Salo and Gianni Melo, and we won also this race. My first class Le Mans win, 2008.
Wow.
And then like in 2011, I did this season with Giancarlo, and we won the championship. Was good, and then the journey continue with Ferrari and all the races and championship over these years.
Yeah, which is fantastic. I mean, and you mentioned about 2008 alongside uh
Tony
uh
Miranda.
yes, Antonio with like Nick Solo 2008, and you got your class victory first time at Le Mans. Just quickly, what I mean, you've got 4 class wins at Le Mans over the
Yeah,
years. So many drivers that I've come onto and I've spoken to have just
yeah,
said that it's just so special for so many reasons. I mean, I've had like Ix and Pirro who have won it. Was it, I don't know, 14 times between them or something, and even guys like Brabham and Johansson and people like that. They've all said there's just something about Le Mans, even about the whole week, about the whole team. Just for you, what makes it so special? What makes it such a special event as a driver?
yeah. I mean, obviously there is. I would say that Le Mans is a special race in terms of all the attention that he has around and the history around of this race. This is makes the race very special. Obviously, I mean, all the 24 hours, wherever you go racing, it's Daytona or Le Mans or other tracks. It's hard, demanding. I would say all the endurance 24 hours are hard, demanding for the cars, for the team, for the drivers. So it's I cannot say what it's hard to say what Le Mans is so special, but I can say that all the 24 hours are special, and Le Mans in particular because it's such a history race
Yeah,
in the background.
yeah, absolutely. And it's just one of those races that everyone has to do at some point in their life, isn't it? It's just one
Yeah,
day
it's
I'll get there.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, it's if you think about the history as 100 years, this year it's going to be 101 year, and still, and now it's a sprint race. It's not anymore endurance race.
Yeah,
It's a sprint race called 24 hours. But of course, it's amazing. It's something really good. I mean, I was lucky and proud to have won and participate to this race with 2 different manufacturers and
yeah,
be able to won with 2 different manufacturers, complete different style and concept of cars.
yeah,
So it was nice. It was good.
yeah. And to stand on that podium, yeah, it's such a famous podium. When you're up there, very quickly, when you're standing up there, do you ever just take a moment and think, "Oh, this is good. This is pretty special." Because I mean, it just must be wonderful standing up there.
Yeah, I mean, all the races that I mean, all the Le Mans, let's say, podiums are really good. Obviously, the top step are amazing. But I was, it's something that when you are there, the taste is different when you're winning. Of course, all the pain, tiredness, all this issue that you had in the race are gone for these few hours, minutes that you are there involved in the press, wherever they are gone. They forget it. You
Yeah,
don't feel it anything. You just enjoy the time and just thinking about how you did it, how we did it, and how we went up to there.
yeah, and which is again exactly how it should be. You got to enjoy the moment, haven't you? Because it doesn't always go well, and when it does, you got to enjoy it.
Yeah,
Um, One thing I do want to touch on, move to the World Endurance Championship 2012 in for the 458 Ferrari 458. At Sebring, I read that you broke the class lap record in qualifying by 2 seconds, which is an enormous amount of time, especially around Sebring. Do you remember doing that? Do you remember the lap? And do you remember thinking that was quick?
yeah, it was quick. I mean, it was. Yeah, I remember. I think at the time was now they went faster, but I think it was like kind of 56 or 57, 156. And yeah, it was a good lap, very fast lap, and because we knew at the time the potential of the 458, but we never went very deep, and we didn't know how we could go faster, or how much we could go faster. And the time was, I think everything we came together was a perfect day, and a perfect setup that it suits to my driving style, and that's the best combination, because sometimes you push so much, maybe you overdrive, but if the car doesn't suit you with the setup and the condition at the time, especially Sebring, because it's a concrete, and the track condition change so much during the day, during the sun, and you have a different, let's say, different setup, or different behavior on the car, even between half an hour between sessions or driving. So it was a combination of all these factors that they came together, and it was really, really good.
Yeah, wonderful. Just on that, I remember Brian Redman on here. He said that he did some laps of Sebring and he felt like he got the hang of it. And then he said that there was another couple of races were run before his next session, and he said that the bumps on Sebring had moved because because of the, he said just when he thought he'd got it right, there was another bump had appeared somewhere, or because of the
Yeah,
heat of the track or the way it was set up
that's
or
true.
something.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
That's the
So
last thing you need.
yeah, so now I'm. It will be a new challenge also now in 1 week time, because it will be first time for me on the prototype, because we were not at the test days a couple 1 month ago. So it will be first time for me with prototype, because normally I knew this track on GT, so
Yeah.
it's gonna be a big difference, but it will be nice to
Yeah.
discovering.
Yeah, it'd be a nice challenge. Yeah, and obviously we'll be keeping tabs on that for sure. Just very quickly, other things I want to mention. I think all of us in our lives, we all look back at two or three, like that year was a good year, that one wasn't. Well, 2013, 2014, I think this might be one of the times where you look back on and think that it all went well, because you had wins at Spa and Le Mans and Fuji. You were class champions in both years, and you must look back on those seasons thinking, yes, things went well. I was happy with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of these every I think every high level drivers, they have this kind of seasons or moment in the career that everything goes smooth, everything goes in the direction that it has to go. Even if you are in the opposite way, but he changes direction immediately and he goes in your way. So like you said, it was very intense season, but everything went not against me, not against car 51, let's say, in that years.
Yeah,
Where if I see the afters, we have some other moment like in 15, where we could win easily the championship with Tony again in 15, but we had some issues with the car in Nürburgring. We had the issue. I think it was 45 minutes to go in Le Mans. We are leading by 1 minute against the Corvette, and the gearbox breakdown. So we lost crazy points, because it was double points there, and it was points win lost in Nürburgring, and then at the end we only lost the championship by 4 or 5 points.
yeah,
So there is some years that everything goes where it should go, or even a better way, and some other years there where everything looks so easy, you never get it. You never, you don't, everything can be opposite, it goes opposite to you
yeah. It's just the
and
life of
against
a
you.
racing driver, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's
this
the
is
way it
also the
goes.
challenge. This is also the good of racing. In any kind of racing. Not only motorsport. In any kind
Yeah,
of racing, this is the good and bad things. What we love, or what I
yeah,
love, for sure.
absolutely. Another thing I want to touch on, you moved, you moved to Porsche.
Yeah,
Uh, Again, different kind of car, as you touched on before,
yeah,
with the wins at Le Mans. But also in 2017, you went over and did IMSA out in the States, and you
Yeah,
seemed to
in July.
immediately go pretty well out there. You had podiums at Watkins Glen and at Mosport and Lime Rock, Road America. Do you like the American style circuits? Because they're completely different, aren't they, to what we have in Europe or anywhere else?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I really like it. I'm racing in America. I mean, I like it. I like the America racing life is really good, and the track, of course, are amazing. There is some tracks really, really good. I remember me the young days when I was young in England in Formula 3. So some tracks are quite similar. I mean, there is not so much runoff, and the racing, it's all about fighting, but in this fighting on the limit, but respect each other. That's really nice. It's all about in IMSA in America. Obviously, in that year I step in July, starting in the 1st of July with the Porsche squad. Yeah, it was good. It was nice.
Yeah, and yeah, which is great because I mean I'm a big fan of American racing. I mean, we spoke about it off air. There's just something about it. It's I think it might be the Americans. They're a bit crazy about it, and it just makes it more fun. Certainly for the fans. That's why I went to the Indy 500, and it was an amazing experience. Um, excuse me. Again, just fast forwarding quickly. You'd had a podium at Sebring, but 2019, you had a class win with Richard Leaks. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, you'd won at Le Mans at this point, and you've now won at Sebring. Two very different events, but both as rewarding as each other, I guess.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I guess. I mean, excuse me, got a bit of a tickle there. Just to fast, I mean, you've got the wins at Le Mans, you've done Sebring, you've done IMSA, and things like that. You linked up with Proton Competition 2022. Am I right in saying that was the first time you had a run in an LMP2 car?
Yeah.
Would it have been?
No, I did in
You done
LMP2.
it before?
If I have to be precise, I did one race with AF course in
Okay.
2000, I think 13. I think it was
Okay.
in Porica. They called me. I think it was like Thursday evening. One driver was Hill, and I just stepped in and I drove the car in LMS season. It was nice. It was good, but it was different concept. It was still Oreca, but it was open cockpit. It was different. And and then in 2002, in 2003, I did this. In 2023, I did this with Proton in LMP2. Yeah, this
Ah,
season.
yes, okay, 2023. Getting my years mixed up. Just to step back here, 2022, you won another title in the European Le Mans Series. Your first season with Proton Competition. I mean, again, did you expect to go so well that year, or
Yeah, I mean,
or could you tell you were going into a good team at that point?
yeah, we had a good package. I mean, we had a good drivers lineup, all three together. The teams supporting us at full speed, and obviously the RSR was really a good car to run. No, it was good. I mean, it was a good season, and we had some high and low, of course. We had the issue in Imola with the drive shaft, but a part of that with the race was the season went quite well and smooth, let's say, and we were able to clinch the championship in that year.
Yeah, lovely stuff. You mentioned 2023 at the 24 Hours of Daytona in the Oreca. A class victory there as well. So that's like Le Mans, Sebring, and now Daytona. You're collecting the big ones. That again, as you said, any 24-hour race is tough, and they're all special. But Daytona, obviously, it's known for the banking, and it's known for just being the most monumentally crazy place. What was it? What were your memories of that 24-hour race and then winning at Daytona at the end of it?
Yeah, it was something amazing. I think James Hallen was driving, and he was really on it, and I knew that he could do it. He did one lap before the finish line, and he passed in the same way. And I said, "Oh, okay. If he exit from the bus stop in the same way, we could have a chance to do it." And he did. So it was a really good effort, very very good team effort. We were struggling during practice because both of my teammates had a issue, a crash, so we didn't have so much track time. But the team, really fight back and put the car together without testing, without warm up, nothing. So it was really team effort. It was really really good.
Terrific. Also, last year you drove the LMDH car. That must have been again another amazing experience to drive that car. You took third at the Petit Le Mans Road Atlanta. Pretty cool to drive that car on that circuit, surely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, very, very demanding track, and Neil and Harry, my teammate, Neil Yani and Harry Tignell, did a very fantastic job, and it was good, was good. I mean, it was a good things for the team. It's a private team fighting against the big effort and works team. So it was really good. Ending the season with the LMDH.
Yeah, great stuff. Just to come into this year, now I loved when I was a kid. I loved the black and gold John Player special livery. I think we all did. We all loved the black and gold.
Yeah.
You could put that on anything and it'd look good. You could put it on a shopping trolley and it'd look good. You guys definitely had the best looking car at Daytona this year. Hopefully the guys that I know this year raced aren't listening to this. But yeah, the Mustang sampling Porsche 963. Excuse me. Again, I mean, similar to the last question, what was that car like to drive? Because if it drove as nicely as it looked, you must have had a great time.
Yeah, the car looks amazing. The colors brings back so much special moment the scene than 30 years ago, 40 years ago. But no, obviously it was driving this car around Daytona was quite challenging and hard because we didn't done any testing before that, no preparation so much. And but it was good. I mean, we start I think all four of us drivers, Yanni, Duma and Picariello and myself, and we try to just get it into the race without big mistakes, and try to learn and try to get closer to the works team. At the end, I think we came P5. It was good results for the private team. And then now in 1 week time we will have the second shot with in Sebring.
Yeah, and I don't think anyone would be surprised if you could get even closer to the works team, because obviously there's some big names involved. You got like Penske and Ganassi and Cadillac and things like that. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously it was a shame there was the accident in practice that kind of put paid to qualifying. But yeah, fifth was fantastic, and I was really glad actually when you guys did so well and you had such a good looking car, because we just agreed to come on here and have this chat. So I was like, yes, right, let's go. So that was great. And obviously, we wish you all the best for Sebring this coming week. It's always a great event, and yeah, hope you can get even higher up the order. Just some very quickly, just some general motorsport stuff before we go, because I know it's getting quite late where you are there. The car is on one of the reserve. It's on the reserve list for the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year. You must be hoping to, to be able to get in and have a blast around Le Mans this year.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I don't know so much these things about the reserve Le Mans. I was surprised. I mean, I was also surprised to see my name on it, honestly. But we see, because at the moment I'm trying to focus on the IMSA championship, try to get closer, like we said before, to the works team during the season. Try to get closer and try to when there is a possibility to do something well there with the Proton team, and then so now the main target is that, and then we will see for Le Mans. Honestly, still so far away. We have some good races now. We have Sebring and then Long Beach and Laguna Seca before that. Let's hope we can do something on these three races as a private team.
Yeah, absolutely. And just on Laguna Seca, the corkscrew in that car must be fun.
We'll see. We'll see. I will tell you after that.
Yes, please report back. The amount of drivers that I've said that half of them love the corkscrew and half of them are terrified by it. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. Quickly on the current. Let's go back to F1 quickly. The current state of it. Obviously, Max Verstappen's out in front, and Adrian Newey's designing more rocket ships. They're impressive, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, you have the best designer with the best drivers, or one of the best drivers. Obviously, Max. He's a talent, super talent, strong, and he grew up as a racing spirit. With his dad and with his mother. The mother, she was super strong, go-kart driver. And the father was also super talent. So what you can expect, from your son. So obviously he was super talented in go-kart. He won so many things. He won world championship in two different classes in 1 year. I think it was 13 and 14, because I remember he was at the FIA prize giving. So it's quite normal that he's doing what he does when he show up in Formula One. Super strong driver, and I think also the Red Bull just support him in the best way.
Yeah, absolutely. You spend some time out in America with IMSA and things like that. Obviously, when it comes to America and F1, the obvious question is about Andretti. Huge name, massive, or as a massive organization across the motorsport spectrum, from supercars to prototypes and IndyCar and everything. F1 is surely the shop is too closed, isn't it? I mean, to not let Andretti in, I think we were all kind of baffled by that. I'm just wondering what your thoughts were on that.
Yeah, I mean, it must be something. I don't know so much the details. Honestly, I'm a bit far from knows all the details, but it's a shame because he's such a big name, Andretti, and he did so well in all the category, like you said, where he's competing. I hope in the future he will have another chance and maybe step in Formula One.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. I mean, someone actually commented on something I put out there a few weeks ago, saying that and Andretti have just got two guys in an office near Silverstone, and that's their effort. I went, no. I've spoken with Paul Page, the broadcaster out there, and Andretti have built a huge facility and accommodation for European engineers, and it's all ready to go. So, yeah, hopefully one day they can get in. Right, last thing before we get on to some fun questions, just to finish up. You've driven for Minardi. I said before, we all love Minardi. We all love the underdogs, the back markers, the Osella, the Zach Speed, the AGS, the Life, the Eurobrun, all these other small teams. Maybe not Andrea Mulder. Does F1 need more teams like that these days? Obviously, it can't happen, but it'd be great to see those kind of teams back, wouldn't it? The ones that are just there because they want to be there.
Yeah. I mean, these teams that were really passionate, really like, they were the basics, the base of high level motorsport F1. But unfortunately, I think the way the world is going, F1 is going, cannot be teams like this now anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's a shame, but because now the level is so high, and if you see the gaps between the teams, first and last are nothing. It would be it would be it would be strange to see teams so much off the pace and racing and like they were 10 years ago or 15 years ago, or 20 years ago, let's say 15, 20 years ago. Now things are changing, and all the rivals are so close together, and I don't think so it will be, unfortunately, teams like this in F1 anymore.
Yeah, I think those days are gone. I mean, I think a car or a team that's not performing would damage the F1 brand, wouldn't it? I mean, just look at Haas in 2021 when they were even half a second a lap off, they were getting ridiculed, and think, oh, you want to look in the 80s.
Yeah.
But, okay, let's just wind down with some fun questions because it's getting late there. I appreciate that. You've done excuse me. You've done F1 at Monaco and sort of Spa. You've won at Le Mans. You've won at Daytona. You've won at Sebring. You've raced in all these amazing races. Is there a race that you would love to do? Maybe like, I don't know, the Nürburgring 24 Hour on the Nordschleife, or Indy 500 or Bathurst, or is there anything that you think that's one race I'd love to do?
Honestly, in terms of racing, no, but I would like to go back maybe in good tracks like Suzuka. I really like this kind of track. It was one of my favorite tracks when I did F1, the reserve driver and the full season driver. It was a special track. So maybe it would be nice to go back in this track, maybe with GT or with another category, wherever. But it would be nice to drive on these tracks that at the time, 20 years ago now, it was amazing. I was feeling amazing driving with F1 car around this track.
Yeah, fantastic. Great to go back to those. I saw a question earlier on from a chap called David on YouTube. Evening, David. He said, the question is, if you could choose a decade to drive in, or which era, would it be the modern day? I think you might be talking about F1 here, but would you like to drive in the modern day? Would you like to drive in the 60s or the 70s? If we could master time travel, which would you like to go to?
No, maybe in late 90, early 2000. I think was the best higher performance car in terms of sound, in terms of technology, in terms of grip level, downforce, lightness of the car, power, weight was amazing. I think in 2004, and you have this so much grip, so it was really, really good, and I would love to go back there.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, it was a great era, just the speed and the twitchy cars, and great stuff.
And the tracks were still some highest difficult tracks.
Yes, yeah, and if you got it wrong, you were in trouble. Still, without the runoff. Okay, just 2 or 3 more. What's the best racing car you've ever driven?
Mm-hmm. So
and there's a few.
I have a few of them. So I would say if I go a single seater, the F3000, I really like it.
Okay.
If I do the first part, the GT, I would say the 458. Second part of GT, the RSR. Let's say the RSR, 19. And I think these were the best. And obviously, I was lucky to drive some F1 Ferrari cars when I was with Ferrari, and obviously there were some fantastic cars, like 2004 Michael Schumacher car was something amazing. I mean, it was my season, was my year in F1, but it was this car that he almost won all the races, and it was amazing car.
Yeah. Wow, that must I wasn't even aware you'd driven that car. That must have that must have been pretty amazing.
Yeah,
Goodness
because
me.
you remember, because I was still fresh from, let's say, F1, because it was 2009 or 10 when I drove it, 10 I think. And when you're driving this car and you remember your car, Minardi, it was a big difference.
I was yeah.
It was a
I
different
wasn't going to
category.
ask what the difference was, but
Yeah, it was
wow,
nice.
that's fantastic. And while we're on the subject of Michael Schumacher, obviously we continue to wish him well. I mean, it's awful what's
Yes,
happened to him.
yes.
So yeah, hopefully there can be some improvement there. Okay, two more. What's your favorite circuit? Your favorite track to race on? Do you have one, or is there two or three?
Well, let's say two or three. For sure, Spa, Suzuka, and Sebring and Le Mans.
Oh, I think we used the term before, proper circuits. Yeah, love those. Okay, this is the final question I ask everyone who comes on here, and it's a horrendous question. I know that. You've driven against and with some amazing drivers, and I'm not going to name them all. I've got a big list here, but even guys, like Andy Priaulx and Thiago Montero and Jose Maria Lopez, Amma Muller, Andre Lotterer, Johansson, Sato, Weber, Rosberg, Kovalainen, Jensen Button, Fisichella, McNish, Conway, Villeneuve, Heinz Harald Frentzen, Kobayashi, Christensen, McLaughlin, Dixon, Palou, Montoya, Raikkonen, Alonso, Hamilton, Schumacher. I mean, wow, you shared the track with some amazing people. Are there any that stick out in your mind as being special? I mean, I've just mentioned Schumacher, which feels like a bit of a silly question, but are there any that you think they were just another level for whatever reason?
No, I think the way, the way I would say that the way that he was taking control of almost everything, and he knew about everything and all the details. I think Michael Schumacher.
Yeah,
He
I don't
was
think many.
not so much in terms of, I cannot judge his speed because I was never his teammate, but I can see from outside the results talk by itself. But it's not only about the speed; it's only about the way he knew everyone's, the way he approached the work. And then I get a little bit know him when I was at Ferrari. That he just stopped racing when I joined Ferrari. But the way he knows everything about what's going on in your category, in your races, during the race, and I think it was something outstanding. Something that is not, it doesn't come easily. And if you think that he was already like 7 times world champion, it's something amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think anyone would disagree with that. It's great to hear the insights from you as a driver who spent some time with him at Ferrari as well, into the bits that we don't see, and that's obviously what makes him so great. Right, well, it's been an hour and a half, slightly longer than planned, but thank you so much for coming on and having a chat. It's been really great speaking with you. I'm glad we were able to rearrange it, and thank you for giving up your Wednesday evening.
Thank you, and good evening, good night to everyone, and hope to see you soon and talk about more racing.
Yeah, great stuff. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in. There's been loads of you who've tuned in, and not so many questions, but that I guess you've been sitting here enjoying the tales. So thank you very much, everyone. And we'll be back very soon. So yes, thanks very much again, and we'll see you all very soon. Good night.